to the Good Girl Confessional. I am your host, Sandy Lowrys, and the Good Girl Confessional podcast is proudly brought to us by WB40 or Women Beyond 40 magazine. Today in the podcast, if you are like me and many other women and a little bit afraid of all things tech, you will not want to miss this podcast. Our special guest is Michelle Bowditch. She is the founder and CEO of Door20A, and she is basically a tech queen. She is able to explain tech in a way that makes things much simpler for everyone else. But she's also the founder of a brand new awards coming out called the Australian Admin Awards. I know you're going to love hearing her story and what she's all about. Please welcome to the confessional, Michelle Bowditch. Hello, Michelle, and welcome to the Good Girl Confessional. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me today.
You are very welcome. And we were just having a little chat off screen because I was saying how beautiful your hair looks. It's gorgeous.
Oh, yes. Look, for the people that are in Sydney and are listening to this, we are very fortunate today because the 70% vaxxers fully vaxxed. We get to go out and get our hair done. So it's yay! The small things, the small joys. Thank you.
Absolutely, and we're celebrating for sure. I mean, you always look gorgeous, but I did recognise the lovely hair today.
The regrowth and the length wasn't there. I think for the people that have been following on my social media journey for the last 3.5 months, I've been doing star jumps and walking 20,000 steps a day. So I'll keep the walking, but the star jump probably won't happen anymore.
And I will say I've been lucky this week as well, because although we can't see hairdressers here in Melbourne, my hairdresser did mix up colour for me and deliver it on the doorstep, which was really kind. So I no longer have grey, so there's something.
I was going to say, your colour is looking nice as well.
Yeah, it looks lovely. Look, it's never going to look the same way it does when she does it, that's for sure. Shout out to my hairdresser, Michelle, who's brilliant. But yes, and I just can't believe how long it's getting. I mean, I think that's the funny part. It's been a long time since it's had a trim, I think.
Was your hair before just shoulder length? Because I'm sure I've seen...
Yeah, sort of to here. Yeah, it's grown quite a bit. Oh. Yep. And so, welcome to the confessional. I'm super excited to talk to you today because I look at someone like you who is in the world of tech as a woman, and I think you're a superhero.
Oh, thank you. I don't think I'm a superhero. Look, technology, it's an interesting space to be on. Firstly, the confession is I didn't go to university and study technology. It was something that I didn't, grow up being educated in. So it was something that was taught in my role as an executive assistant. And I was fortunate enough back in 2018, I was supporting Schneider Electric, so light switches and solar panels, not the lifts that everyone thinks it is, and supporting a VP of strategy and commercial operations. And she had the opportunity to head up an incubation in Silicon Valley. And first of all, I didn't know what an incubation was. Second of all, we think of Silicon Valley as San Francisco with the beautiful lights and the bridge. And if you've ever been to Silicon Valley, it's flat, it's industrial, it is nothing what it envisaged. And, doing that incubation is when my eyes open up to the world of technology and how as, firstly an executive assistant supporting at the top level, but also as a woman in her mid-40s and a mother could have technology in our life to create efficiencies, not only just from our roles, but in our everyday life. And I think I was also fearful of technology, and I know a lot of people I work with, especially small business owners, I can't do Instagram, I can't do this, I can't so I learned it and I thought if I can do this, then anyone can do this. It was my teenagers that were teaching me Snapchat, and TikTok had just come in those days. So I'm like, I don't need this. And I think also, when we think technology straight away, and you may be the same, I don't know, but we think of coding and we think of languages that we don't really understand, or we think on the other spectrum about the robot side of things, how the robot's going to replace us and we're going to be obsolete and our roles are not going to be there. So, working in Silicon Valley, I met Mr. Zoom and Mr. Slack, which most people know these days, and we can't do without Zoom, and even the creative types can't do without Slack from a productivity. So it was a huge look. Silicon Valley and that whole incubation world was a huge eye-opener for me, and I fell in love with technology. It wasn't a man, it was a platform. So
And I love that because I embrace tech to the point of, obviously I'm a small business owner. Obviously I run a magazine.
Yeah.
Tech kind of has infiltrated my life and I don't know how I would live without it now. But that does include everything from my laptop to my podcasting equipment to social media to all of it. But I do understand, as a woman in her 50s, that a lot of women in particular are really fearful around technology and how quickly it seems to change.
Yeah, and I think the change piece, it shouldn't be fearful for women. What I always encourage anyone is, why do you need that platform or that tool, and what solution are you trying to solve? So if someone says to me, I have to have TikTok in my business or I've got to be on Instagram, for me, that's not a good enough reason. It's what solution are you trying to solve? So are you trying to connect with your customers and find a better way? Are you trying to understand your customer journey? Or on the other thing, are you trying to create efficiencies in your processing and your administrative functions? So i.e., a great example is, if you're a service-based business and people are trying to book your service, you're trying to get that payment for the service and then also make it accountable in your diary as well as your accounting software. How does that happen? And there are systems that flow, instead of sending an email, then creating an invoice, then popping into someone's calendar, we can automate that. And it's finding that solution to the problem that's occurring in your business so you can work on your business, not in your business. And that's what I think a lot of business owners get stuck when they create a new business. It's like, right, I have to build a website and it's got to be on this platform and I've got to do this. And it's like, okay, do you actually understand WordPress, or do you understand Wix, or do you understand Squarespace and how it talks to all the other systems that you want to use? So for me, it's really looking at what problem are you trying to solve first of all, to make your life a lot easier. And then I'll give you options about the platforms that are out there to try and solve that solution. And I think also, if you've got a great platform already working for you, don't go and recreate something else. Find something that plugs in, as I call it. It's like the power cord into the power switch is, connected up, or integrated is more professional word. So find something that integrates with the existing platforms that work. And there's so many out there. But what we do is we tend to go, okay, yes, I've got this working well, but someone told me I need to use this, and none of them talk to each other. And then you've created more mess in your business, and it's like, oh my golly gosh, we've got to fix. So, and I love seeing the joy in especially women in business when they have created those efficiencies, they have integrated the tools, this process is working seamlessly. To the customer, they've just entered their details and hit one button, but in the background there's 4 systems talking to each other, and it's like, magic has happened, and it's an easy integration. And I think at the end of the day is, my end result is we've got to know our numbers in business, so you've got to have a great accountancy software platform. So if you're starting with something like a booking tool like Acuity or Calendly, if you don't have a big website with all the robust systems and how that process works along the way to finally having that payment sitting in your bank account reconciled to a sale, and you go, cheer, I got a sale, and how easy was that? So I think, we have to kind of go back and go, I don't need to have this product or this platform because the Kardashians said it was the best one to use. What do I need for me? And I think it's about like when we choose what, brand of clothing we use. I don't want to wear that bikini every day because I'm a size 12. I want to wear the one piece because I feel comfortable in it, holds everything in, and I feel like a real woman in it. So it's I know it's a different analogy, but tech is to be made fun, and it's here to help us, not to hinder us. So don't go and invest in a platform that isn't for you, that you don't understand, that doesn't talk to anything else. Find the solution for you that suits you. We've got different color hair, for example. Why you've got your hair color and not why I've got mine is because this suits me and that suits you. So we found the solution for our hair color. Let's find it in the tech space as well. So that's what I encourage, everyone to do when they are trying to solve a problem or trying to fix something from a technology perspective.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful analogy, actually, because it's true. I think it's not really just for women in business either. It's for people not running their own businesses, but tech can really help streamline people's lives as well, right?
And I think also in the corporate world, like, for the people that are working in corporate businesses, and that goes back to my story about how I fell in love with it. My CEO at the time who I was supporting, her expenses per month her line items were between $450 and $550 line items. So firstly, one, to reconcile that, one, to match the receipt, find out who attended the lunch or the dinner or the coffee catch up, and then find a cost center for all of those, and then match all that up. It was like, oh my golly gosh, I would spend a week. But I was lucky when doing the incubation, I met two 20-year-old kids, I will call them, cloud solution architect and a data scientist. And they said to me, Mish, that the SAP program that you use, which is part of the Concur family, can talk to all your other systems. I said, what are you talking about? And what it was able to do is, and I still teach EAs and admin assistants these days, it started talking to my Qantas app and her Uber app, and then it started talking to her inbox, so it would download who would attend and where they were from. So it's all these efficiencies that we can create. But even like on the home front, for me, we've got in our family, which is something I love, and my children 2 years ago would tell me I'm a stalker, but I'm not a stalker. We have a tracking app, so everyone knows where everyone is. But what it does is for us in our family, we're a busy family prior to lockdown. I was always at meetings or traveling, and the kids were going, high school kids were going from here to there. There was always that problem. And for the listeners that have children out there's always a problem. Mum, I'm hungry, or there's no food in the fridge. So we had a tracking device about 2 years ago, and a lot of people use it now. But what we would do is we would pinpoint locations, and when I arrived at those locations, and mainly it was like places like Woolies and Coles, it would say Mum's at Woolies. So then straight away the text messaging would start, Mum, don't forget the yogos. Mum, don't forget the cheese. And, because we're always forgetting something. So there's so many apps for us out there that we can use to have in our lives, and it's not just about from the professional perspective as well as the personal perspective. And look, Instagram's been huge for me in my business. Just for those listening out there, is that I didn't walk into the business in 2019, create a beautiful website and have all these systems. I wanted to play around with what apps and tools were out there, and as we know, there's a lot of free stuff out there. So I built my Door 20A. 60% of my business was driven from Instagram, and the other 40% from LinkedIn, without a website. But we had tools and apps hanging off Instagram like Linktree and Milkshake that are all free. And for me, because at the end of the day, I wanted to service my customers in the best possible way. So what I had to do is establish my foundations from a business journey, a customer journey, and a business automation process. So I did all that first. And then when I got my feet bit stronger on the ground and firmly cemented, I got some runs on the board, some money in the bank account, then I went 18 months later and built a beautiful website. So it's really because that suited me, and that, because I'm the one talking to customers about, finding the right tech tools and platforms out there. So I've got to be across everything, and I have to try it. If I don't try it, then how can I explain it to my customer or say, this is a great option for you to use instead of X, Y, and Z? So, so it's been a fun journey, and I still navigate. Like, I will say the two platforms I don't use is I'm not on TikTok. I have attempted TikTok, but it isn't for me, and that's okay, and I'm fine with that. And I don't use Snapchat. I just find the concerns I have with Snapchat from a bullying perspective, and just the lack of control in that platform, especially as a mother of 3 teenagers, it does concern me. So, like everyone, tech isn't for everyone, and those two platforms just don't work for me. So, yeah.
Yep, and I think I definitely do not use Snapchat, but I have recently launched into TikTok, and I'm playing around with it and having a bit of fun with that at the moment.
Yeah.
Not really taking it too seriously, but like yourself, I find when new things come up, and I have a social media manager, Debbie, who's brilliant. She's personal assistant as well, and she's great. But she actually really kind of encourages me to go off and try new things. And I think that's really important for us as women as we get older. Like, it's okay to try something, and if it doesn't work out, that's cool too.
Yeah.
But it is kind of just keeping our skills up and not being afraid of technology as it starts to enter our arena. I think that's a really important lesson that I've learned as well.
And it's a really interesting thing. So I have been involved in the app trial here in New South Wales for the vaccination certificate to sit in our Service New South Wales app. But prior to today, I clocked up, I decided I love giving back to the community, so I contacted our local council, and I just said, if any of the elderly community, the pensioners or the retirees, need help with downloading wanting their vaccination certificate, then let me know. So up until yesterday, I think I clocked up 87 elderly pensioners, and literally I'd go sit in the gutter of their house and we'd do a FaceTime call, and I'd have to navigate because their fear, all they wanted to do was to have their vaccination certificate on their phone. So today they could go out and they could go and have a cup of tea with their friend, or they could go to the local or get their hair cut or whatever. So this is the thing is that you're never too old to learn, and it's about the pace that you do it at. And really, the journey to get their vaccination certificate on their phone was the easy part. The hardest part was connecting their MyGov up with their Medicare, with the Medicare link. And that's the hardest piece of the whole process. But they were fearful. And it's like, oh, Michelle, you're going to be here for ages. Oh, I don't know how to do this. Oh, I don't have, like, there was this whole fear. And it's like, okay, let's just sit down and breathe, first of all. But at the end of the discussion, and look, some took longer than others. Some was 10 minutes, and some I was still sitting in the gutter out the front of their house like an hour later. And they're yelling at me so loud. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, the neighbours are going to come out and go, what is this person yelling at this? Because we couldn't have face-to-face contact, obviously. But, you know, what happened is their emotion went from being so fearful of technology to now going, it wasn't that hard. That's literally what most of them said. And, you know, I obviously walked away with giving them, you know, a cheat sheet and, you know, created an IGTV as well as YouTube so they can rewatch it just in case if they delete it out of their wallet or they can't log into their Medicare app plus today. But it's that fear. And, you know, to me, it's a simple process, and I'm still old, but to them, it was like, oh my gosh, Michelle, how am I going to go and meet my girlfriends for lunch on, you know, today? And blah, blah, blah. How am I going to get my vaccination certificate in my phone? And none of them, and the interesting thing is that what I loved about their attitude is none of them wanted to have the piece of paper. They wanted to feel strong. It was like an empowerment piece. They wanted to have it in their phone. And I said, you know, you don't have to do this. We can go to we can go and get the piece of paper. No, I want it in my phone, Michelle. We need to do this. So it was like
I love that. I love that. I love that you've been doing that and helping people to do that and that's what I mean by our everyday lives and how impacted by tech we are every day of our lives. And you're right, it's having that vaccination certificate. And I remember, you know, immediately kind of thinking, oh, how am I going to do that? I need to have it on my phone. And not that we're really using it down here yet, but we will. And so that was we will. And it was a kind of a really important, I think it's so important. And of course, you know, I have downloaded it onto my phone, which is great. I highly recommend everybody does that. But yeah, it's quite interesting. And I do think for me, what's been really interesting, and I know a lot of people don't necessarily do this, but if something new happens and I don't really understand it, I do have a partner who's in tech, so I'm very lucky there. But I do often go to my good friend, Mr. Google, and sometimes I just say, how do I do this? And it's quite interesting, some of the resources that you can find.
And I think YouTube's been fantastic, like, you know, and I don't have all the answers. And I will say, you know, talking about tech platforms, like I feel Clubhouse has been a savior for me because I'm keeping up with technology quicker than what I ever was before. I'm still not as quick as what some people would like me to be, but Clubhouse has allowed me to jump in and out of rooms. So I follow certain people in Silicon Valley. So when they're releasing a new product or they're doing a new feature or they're doing some beta testing, I've tagged them and I'll jump in and out of that room and just listen. And I've captured the answer really, really quickly instead of going to ask YouTube or Google. And it's coming straight from the horse's mouth. So, you know, I think it's doing it your way, but I'm also... I've got a great community of experts around me who have been trained for many years. So if someone comes to me and their website isn't integrating with a tool, I'm not a website expert. So I'll say, okay, go to this person. They're an expert in this field. So I know my limitations and boundaries and I know what I can and can't do. And it's like, I'm the first to say, I don't have the answer, but go and talk to such and such. So that's for me as well, I've had to surround myself with some incredible experts and leaders in the tech space that when I can't solve someone's problem, that there's someone for them to go to. Because I think that's important. I want them to feel that they've solved or they've overcome the challenge or, you know, they've you know, made their booking system work or someone's been able to get a receipt or someone's been able to find them a lot quicker. So it's having, and you know, like you and I, we met on Instagram. I mean, the power Instagram is huge. And I do find my experience 99% of the time with Instagram has been there is a lot of kind people out there and a lot of people that want to help and cheer you on. So there's always the 1%, and that's just life in general. It's just not Instagram or social media. Life in general, there is that 1% that, kindness, they don't know what that means, and there is bullying and all that. But I find that if you give or help someone without expecting something in return, the joy that it brings you is just wonderful.
I 100% agree with that. And I think, obviously, WB40, as you know, is a platform for women and building community and community way over competition. I don't believe that women are pitted against each other, and we're changing the narrative around that, which is so important. But I do think that some people do have a real fear of social media. But in my experience, I think there are so many amazing groups of women, and I've met so many extraordinary women across Facebook. We have our own private Facebook group. There are so many women business groups on Facebook that women can connect to.
Yeah.
And not just women in business, there are groups out there for everyone as well. But, from my standpoint, I've met so many extraordinary women across Instagram, across Facebook. Not so much in Clubhouse for me, but there are really interesting groups for people, and you don't have to be in business to get onto that platform as well and just have a look around. But even on TikTok, I've had people reach out to me via that. And I think they can be powerful mediums and positive mediums. And as you say, yes, there's always that 1%, unfortunately. But guess what? In real life, there is as well. And so I just think, that's why you can block people if, they're giving you a really hard time or whatever. I don't know. But, I think that you have to have boundaries, obviously, but I do think that I have met so many, including yourself. I've met you, I met, so many women, but also I've been connected to so many extraordinary people in business, both in small business, in large businesses, people who can offer advice, and people who, when you go, I have no idea what I am doing here. I guarantee if you reach out to one of those groups and ask a question, you'll be amazed how many answers come back.
You do. And look, I always start with, I know it's a silly question, but to me, I don't understand it. And I think when I'm starting with that, I think I'm on the foot forward, and I don't sound like I'm asking such a dumb question, because we don't know everything. I mean, is there anyone that says genius that has answers to everything? No, there's not. So I think it's, I know what I'm an expert in, and I stay in my lane. And for those things I don't know, then I've got to ask someone. It's a little bit like business. Like, what I'm not strong at, I outsource, or I bring someone into the team to work in our business. So, and it's just, having, as much as I think women, we naturally, and mothers, we try and do everything and be everything, but there's a limitation as to how far we can go. And I think also that, I realize more and more and more, especially in the Door 20A business, that I need to stay in my lane and just be me and do what I do best. And for those things that I don't do well at, or I know how to do, but I'm not an expert in, I want to reach out and get the expert to do it, because they've trained in it. They are an expert in it. And I do know how to do it, but I want someone that has that training and that expertise that can come and teach me more to make my business, better and brighter and bolder and whatever I need to be done in it. So yeah, it's you've got to find technology or platforms or tools that suit you, really. And I during this lockdown, I've come off Facebook. I decided to have a Facebook pause because I just did find there was too many platforms going on for me. And you know what? That is okay. And I would say you don't need to be on every platform. I've got people that are on Facebook and Instagram, and they're so scared of LinkedIn. So, I think it is, you just don't try and be everything to everyone. Just stay in your lane and be you, and do things at your pace and speed that you can control.
Absolutely. And as you say, there's so many great solutions out there, and people can talk to you, or they can talk to other people, that they may know. But you're an amazing resource for that. But there are a lot of tech solutions out there that can help you kind of give you more time back in your day. Like I know for us, Debbie, who's our social media manager, uses Hootsuite. A lot of our posts are obviously getting, put into Hootsuite, which is, for those that don't know, is a tech solution that you can put all your posts for Instagram and Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever it may be. You can link up however many, social media platforms that you have. So we can do that in advance, which is fantastic because it frees up time, as you say, for me to work on the business rather than just constantly working in the business, because quite often people in business are extremely time poor.
We are. And I think, and that is a great example. Like, Hootsuite is a great scheduling tool. There's Later that's out there. I mean, we've seen Canva. I mean, I'm sure a lot of your listeners love Canva. I'm a Canva. Like, if you're a Canva Pro.
I love Canva.
Yeah. Like Canva Pro, like, when did they? Earlier this year. So you can do all your scheduling to every platform out of Canva Pro now. So, like I say to people, if you've got Canva Pro, why go and pay for another tech platform when you can do it all in there? And I would encourage also,
you can do it in there now, yeah.
Yeah, I would encourage also your listeners, when they try a new platform, ensure that there is a free trial period, and also ensure that it is a subscription-based model on a monthly basis, so you can opt in and opt out at any time. Don't go and invest all your eggs in one basket from the beginning, one, without doing the free trial, and two, without going to the monthly subscription. And at one, because you'll get stung, but also your business changes. Like as we gravitate through the year, I mean, you look at, this year, for example, I was out on the road for 8 weeks traveling at the beginning of the year, talking about my research paper, and then we went into lockdown. So I actually reviewed my subscriptions that I had during the lockdown and what do I need? And I just literally had to flick them off. One, I was saving the business money, but I wasn't using them. And now I can flick them back on. Whereas if I'd gone and invested the whole 12-month subscription or bought a whole package, then I'm stuck with that investment. And a lot of the subscription-based models, they're some between $5 and $20. They're not a lot. So you might find also, I was using Later, for example, as my scheduling tool for all my social, for Instagram and also Facebook. I cancelled that. It was $19 a month. And now I've saved $19 a month and I'm using Canva Pro that's already included in my monthly subscription package. So it's, I always say it's that try before you buy with technology and new tools, and make sure you do the free trial first, then go to the monthly subscription based, and then figure out whether it's exactly right, especially as a small business owner, because what you need now, I guarantee you in 12 months time, you won't need that, because you'll change or you'll upgrade to something else.
I think that's 100% true. And even on your website, before you were talking about plugins, a lot of people may not know what a plugin is, but for my website, as an example, we have so many plugins that do different things. So all they do really, as you say, is allow my website to operate in a way that it couldn't if we didn't have these little add-ons. And I think that's the thing. Whereas before I was so gung-ho about, I need to buy this, I need to have that, and I need to pay for this. And really it's only when you're sort of in your business and you realize, what do I need? And as you say, what am I looking to what's the solution? Yeah. To something that I'm trying to provide, and there comes the answer, right? But I'm glad you raised that, because I think a lot of us are really guilty of doing that, of just going, and not just business people, all of us going, oh, wow, there's a new app and I'm just going to buy it and pay for it. And I very much now do free trials on everything and then say, oh, that wasn't what I thought it was going to be. So I'm really glad I didn't pay for a yearly subscription. And I think those things are really important.
They are. And
Absolutely.
They are, as well as like navigating, I always say to someone, do a digital detox, plus also do a tech audit on your tools that you got in your toolkit. So that includes the subscription models as well.
That's really clever. And I did it actually at the beginning of lockdown as well. Let's actually go through even like my Apple subscriptions, just everything, to kind of go, what am I using? What am I not using, more importantly, but still paying for? Yeah. And as you say, then you find out that different apps that I already had can do a lot of different things I didn't even look at. So I think too, it's really fascinating. As you said, YouTube's a really great resource. There are a lot of, often when you are looking at an app, if you go to the website for that app, they will give you like a little tutorial, which is free, to show you what it may or may not do. And I think those things are really interesting to look at as well.
Well, they are fantastic. I mean, a great example is Xero. So Xero is an accounting software platform. For those that haven't heard of it, it's similar to MyOb. Like Xero, the amount of free resources that it has. But what I also love about Xero is you can go in and have a look at its platforms that it integrates with or plugs in with. So if you're trying to come up with a HR system to write policies, if you're trying to do a booking tool or a payment gateway, for example. So if you want you need someone to take a payment for you, Xero gives you its partners or the people that it collaborates with. So you've got all these people that you can try, that because Xero, if Xero is working for you fantastically, well, don't change it. Let's look at what talks to Xero and integrates well with Xero. So Xero will give you a payment gateway. For those that don't know, is basically how does someone pay me for my service or my business or my event, and it takes it seamlessly. So the ones out there that most people know will be Stripe, Square and PayPal. They're pretty much the payment gateways that we know. All have different fees, different services, and it all has different, like for example, Square, for those of the listeners that are listening, Square has this actual Square white box and you can buy it. So if you're going to an event, you might just use Square as your payment gateway. But if you're going to an event, you're going to sell a product or someone wants to pay you for something, you take that little white box with you. You may never, I don't have the white box, but I have the payment gateway of Square. So I think this is, Xero is a great platform that the tutorials that it has, the free webinars that you can, it's fantastic. So when you find a great tool, have a look back into its back end and its help desk, and I'm sure there's so many great information that you can find, and subscribe to them as well. So when they roll out a new feature or they upgrade something, that you're on top of it already.
Such brilliant advice. Hey, Michelle, I really wanted to talk to you actually about your journey, because you're an incredible supporter of executive assistants, which I find amazing because, I had worked as an executive assistant for many, many years. But I want to hear your journey in coming from that space of being an executive assistant into launching your own business and how it feels from going to supporting the CEO to being the CEO.
So it wasn't something that was planned, I will say that. So we did the incubation in 2018, and then we became a startup tech business. And then my CEO quickly realized that my role was no longer needed. We're in a startup tech business. They don't need a C-suite six-figure EA. They need something that can automate it and process it. We had a virtual CFO, a virtual HR department. So everything we did was automated and integrated. And I think I was at a stage of my life where it's like, okay, I'm ready to do something, but who knows what it's going to be. But when I was working there, I had speaking gigs lined up. And literally how the whole thing came about is I spoke at an EA event here in Sydney. I was speaking on a panel discussion. But prior to me getting up on stage, there was a gentleman speaking in the morning, and he was talking about the impacts of technology. Now, I was sitting at the table and I didn't agree with one thing he was saying. So I had my pink suit on and my girlfriends, my fellow EAs were sitting around me, and all of a sudden I was getting red, and apparently I was blinching, I was gripping onto the table so tight. And the girl, Monica, next to me says, "Are you okay?" I said, "He's full of bullshit, excuse my French." I said, "That's not actually what's happening." I said, "I've just come back from Silicon Valley. There's something happened." So she said, "Well, in the Q&A, put your hand up." And I literally put my hand up and I said, "Excuse me, Mr. X." I won't tell you his name. I'll say we'll call him Mr. X.
That's fine.
I've just come back from Silicon Valley, 6 months supporting a CEO in an incubation. And when we were there, this and this happened. And then all of a sudden, the room was like looking at me and they're glaring at me. My bright pink suit felt like it was going bright red because I was turning into a bright red cucumber or whatever they call it. But that was my defining moment, because what I did is that I realized how passionate I was, and I was backing my ability and my experience of what I had to get up there and have a voice. And so from there, literally that day changed my day. That was in March, and I went right, and I went back to the office because I was kind of still working, and I said to my CEO at the time, "This happened." She goes, "Well, there you go. You don't need to go and support another CEO. Just go and find yourself." And literally I started mentoring EAs about finding their voice and having a seat at the boardroom table. And how do we do that, and how to lead with confidence. And obviously tech played a big part in that as well, because you need to create efficiencies, because you need to free up your time to have that seat at the boardroom table. And how do we do that? 2019, it was a fun time. It was exhilarating. It was also me finding myself as a business owner, because, I went from a huge corporate business with all the infrastructure around me. So, I had the photocopier, I had the stationery cupboard, and I know they sound like silly little things, but we had this infrastructure around it. We didn't have to worry about it. And then you go to work for yourself and it's like, oh, So how do I photocopy that? I don't have a photocopy. And I know it sounds simple, but they're little things in the business. And then also finding, one of the big things that I did was go through a personal branding journey as well. I don't know whether you've done a personal branding journey yourself, Sandy, but I didn't understand. I thought I knew what my personal brand represented, but I didn't. And a personal branding experience and journey doesn't happen overnight. You just don't wake up and say, I'm going to be the red dress girl, like everyone calls me, the red dress girl or the pink dress girl. I had to understand who I was, understand who my voice was, and also what my business represented. So 2019 was so much fun. And the biggest thing for me was, and we talked about it before, was finding my community, and just not one community, but finding different communities that I could walk into a room, I could have a voice, I could connect in a powerful conversation, and I could also learn and be inspired, because being a business owner, it can be very lonely at the beginning, and it can be very isolating. Imposter syndrome kicks in 110%. And I didn't have a website.
Oh yeah.
I didn't have a website at the beginning. And my first two clients that I worked with was American Express and Qantas. So two big gutsy corporates. So with American Express, I worked with a group of EAs who were supporting APAC leaders going over to big conferences, and their leaders would come back from the conference with a pile of business cards like this, and the EA would sit there. They would enter all the contact details into their contacts as well as their execs' contacts, and then they would send them out a post-conference pack. And sometimes the executive would come back with a pile, and there'd be 1,000 business cards in there, and some were in Japanese, some were in Korean, whatever it was. And this EA reached out to me randomly and said, "Oh, I'm so frustrated, it takes me so long to," and I said, there's an app that can do that. You can scan the business card, whatever language it is, and then you can also have a pre-fill section to send out a pack that you've already pre-prepared before the conference ends. So I rolled out that, and it was and something simple as that. And I'm going to say it's life-changing for these EAs, because it freed up their time. And what it also did is it took the frustration out of their role, because they're frustrated going type, 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 type. Whereas now they were able to do other stuff. So, and it was funny because then with Qantas, I worked with their admin community. Qantas is a massive organization, as we know. It doesn't look like it. Today, it doesn't look the same as what it looked back in 2019, because a lot of their EAs have lost their roles and they've had big restructuring. But there was no community within Qantas. And a big thing is that, if you've ever been to Qantas out in Botany or Mascot, there's 3 separate buildings with 3 different head offices, and none of them talk to each other. They're right next to each other. So really what Qantas wanted to do is they wanted to bring their administrative community to connect and collaborate and create community, which is my 3 C's: connection, community, and collaboration within my business. It's a big part of what I do. So, for me, yet again, it proved to me the power of having a community in my role, whether big or small. And I have so many different communities. So 2019 was so much fun. I was creating community. I was learning about the infrastructure that I didn't have in my business, that I needed in my business, and how do I get it at a cost that's affordable to me, but how did I find something that suited me? So that was great. And then I was going along chuggingly. I got one person to come into the business to support on a consultant's basis, to help with all the gaps that I couldn't fill, or to help my weaknesses that I was really weak at. And disclaimer, and people that know me that listen to this, I suck at spelling, so I often make spelling mistakes. So a copywriter / creative was one of the first persons I got involved in the business to help me with my little mistakes that I made. So 2020 hit, I was out on the road, I was doing tours, I was creating great workshops, speaking at conferences, mentoring EAs. And then that big C word hit everyone, and we went, oh, we're now stuck at home. What are we going to do? So and it all affected us in a different way. And I had to quickly, we use that word pivot overnight, which is a word, if someone can give me another word for it, I welcome it. But we had to change really, really quickly. And as a business owner, I love change, but how can I go from something that I was trying to create magic in a face-to-face environment, bring it online? And what I quickly discovered was that for all those doors that I was banging on and talking about technology that were getting slammed in my face, I don't need tech, I'm fine. All of a sudden, they kept coming, they're banging on my door. Mish, I need help. So we very quickly, we started tech audits, and a tech audit, we don't do as many obviously as what we did last year, but a tech audit was purely, how do I understand how to, use Zoom and put a passcode on it? How do I have people in the waiting rooms? And a lot of these things that we now know that we didn't know. So very quickly, the business grew. I had 8 staff working in the business doing tech audits that were out of control. It was a 30-minute Zoom session. So what happened at that point is I had all these women in business coming to me and saying, I've lost my job. I've got a side hustle. How do I start a business with technology? And what tools do I need in my toolkit? So, very quickly, without me thinking, I went from being in the executive assistant administrative space to now being in the women in business space. And for me, oh my gosh, it was incredible because I want every woman to succeed in business. Whether you're a competitor of mine or not, I want you to succeed. So if technology plays a big part in that, then go you. I'll be your cheerleader. I have got my tutu on and my pom-poms in my hand ready to cheer you on. So 2020 was an incredible year for me. 189 events online I did. I finished the year, I was zoomed out. I had Zoom fatigue, I had burnout. But what I also did during that year is go back to my love, which was executive assistants. And I watched last year the amount of EAs that lost their jobs. They were the first in any corporate business. The bottom line was hit hard. And they were the first to go. The receptionist, the office manager, the EA, the PA, because they needed to cut costs because we were in a lockdown of a pandemic. We did not know what was going to happen. And 18 months later, look where we are now, and it's a very different landscape. So I watched this go on, and then crazily enough, I decided to write a research paper. And I'd never written a research paper before. I'm not academic. I just told you that I failed at English at school and I suck at words. But I wanted to navigate the space and understand, these incredible human beings, and that profession that I loved is understand it more. So the research paper, long story short, is it's 3 sections. One is the impacts of technology in our role, because a lot of the admin space were fearful. They thought technology would take their part of their role instead of create efficiencies so they could step up and get a seat at the boardroom table, lead with confidence, and be these incredible leaders that they should be instead of being the ones sitting into the back. Also, the difference between a transactional and strategic EA, what that actually means from a functionality and skill set, and also the superpowers. And then also the next stage was these business partners. We use this language business partner in our space, but we didn't truly understand what that meant. So how do we be a true business partner to our executive, our CEO, whoever you're supporting? So that was 2020. We did the research paper, we did that, and then 2021 started, and we were a little bit rocky, I think, across Australia as to how it was going to look and feel. And then all of a sudden, we got our freedoms back. I was out on the road. I was sharing my love with women in business face-to-face. I was then also back in the admin space, sharing the findings from the research paper, and just loving people because we had our freedoms back. And then we went went back into lockdown, and I'll be transparent, and the people that have followed my journey, they will know this, is that I went into this lockdown thinking it was 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden we're here longer. I had a little bit of challenges with mental health, which I listened to an interview with Dr. Addie Wooten from Smiling Minds last week, and she was saying that 78% of Australians have been affected just in this lockdown, so this shorter lockdown, with mental health. So for me, it was real, this mental health. And literally overnight, all the workshops that I had organised, the speaking gigs, the one-on-one mentoring, everything got cancelled. So I went from having a full year and going, yes, this is great, I'm loving it, to nothing. But that happened to a lot of business owners because, they had to shut their doors, whether it be online, face-to-face, or a physical shop front. They had to shut their doors. So we were, look, I was in not a dire straits position, but I was in a position going, holy hell, what is going on? And I had the opportunity to go back to speaking online and doing all those crazy things, but I'm a mother of 3 teenagers. I have 2 of my teenagers that are tradies. So navigating a new space for them mentally as well. And then they went into lockdown. It was a very different space. So I started walking 20,000 steps a day. I love walking. So if anyone wants to come walking with me or they want to go on a walking trail, I'm first to be there. I'll come join you. So I started this 20,000 steps a day from my mental journey. I also started star jumping. I don't know why. Someone said to me, where'd you come up with the star jumping? So I was star jumping every day. And you'll see my Instagram account. People go, oh, she's crazy. Why is she star jumping? And I remember posting it. And you know that Instagram versus LinkedIn is a very different audience and platform. And I remember posting one of my star jumps. I remember posting one of my star jumps on LinkedIn. And these people were sending me messages going, are you okay? You know, do you need help? You're star jumping. So it was a really funny experience. And then, you know, navigated myself back to just going day by day. And then literally 5.5 weeks ago, I woke up in a restless night's sleep, jumped out of bed, middle of the night. I can't remember what time it was, but it was 5 weeks actually last Friday. And I went, right, I'm going to create the ARIA Awards for the admin space. How do I do this?
Right. I think some of the best decisions that I've made have been in those crazy witching hours of women in my age bracket, which is often 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. in the morning. But that kind of thing that I call it the magical hour, because I wake up, I curse that I've woken up at that time, but then what happens is I get all these amazing ideas and say, oh, you know who I'm going to talk to, or you know what I'm going to write about, or you know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I love it. Yay. And by the way, huge congratulations to you.
Thank you
for creating these awards for admin staff, because I feel like we are so often overlooked in terms of how much an admin person, whether you're a PA or a team assistant or an executive assistant or an office manager, underestimated how much these people bring to the table and really support a business.
They do. And, you know, and I think, like, I can't control what I can't control from a person's mental health journey or the experience they're going through. But that moment that I woke up and went, I want to bring joy. And I want to celebrate these unsung heroes in the business who, let's be honest, have had the hardest time the last 18 months. A lot of people have lost jobs. They've lost jobs multiple times. But the thing is that these people are, you know, they are the engine room that have kept the businesses going. They're the ones that have had to navigate from being an office manager, filling the photocopier or the tea canister or the coffee canister, to now writing COVID-safe plans. Is that in my job description? Or rolling out a Microsoft Teams platform within a business, so because that's what was expected of them. So we are 5.5 weeks in from that idea waking up. We launched in 4 weeks. We have got 6 staff in the business now. It is huge. Like, I am so, Sandy, I'm reinvigorated. I'm excited. I want to celebrate human beings. And, you know, the Australian Admin Awards is the first of its kind. There is no other awards platform in Australia to celebrate the whole of the administrative community. So as you said, from the receptionist that's at our doctor's practice, to the office manager at the school that hasn't been able to go into school, to the PAs, the TAs, the chief of staffs, the executive business partners, the EAs, whatever your title. I don't care what your title. If you're in an administrative function, these awards for you. So go and nominate that superhero in your business that has just been incredible and who has got this business through the last 18 months of hell or hardship. I don't know what we're going to call it.
Yeah, but you're right. And you know what I was saying, and that I came across the awards, but at the time, I honestly, you were already booked in here and we were already met. I actually didn't know that was your baby. And so that's just so exciting, because when we were talking and locking in dates for you to come on the podcast, and you were saying, oh, I'll talk about my new baby. And I was like, wait, are those awards yours? Like, it's just, I love it. I think it's fantastic. Yeah. And I'm going to shout it from the rooftop, because some of the most wonderful friends I have are EAs. They, as you say rightfully, have worked so damn hard during COVID, and those that are still clinging to their jobs are literally doing more work than they have ever had to do before. So I just think that an award solely focusing on admin people is so extraordinary. So well done to you. What a champion you are.
Thank you. And thank you. And I think this is another celebration. Like, we've gone from being an administrative professional to a domestic engineer and a school teacher in a lot of cases. So we've now taken on 3 job titles. Let's celebrate this. The other thing that I really love about this, and I want to encourage your listeners, is that we haven't come up with the EA of the year or the office manager, those boring titles, because I really think that our roles now are not based on the titles, it's based on what we actually do. So we've got some really cool categories like strategic ninja, manager of codependence, the tech tamer, the visionary, the people's champions. There's 9 categories. They are so much fun, and this is celebrating the achievements of what these individuals have done in your business or done for the broader community, because we've got a community award as well, and we've seen these admin professions gone from, as I said, filling up the photocopier to now rolling out community-based programs, working with people like the incredible Ronnie Khan at Oz Harvest. Like, I've seen so many businesses get involved in that and doing food packages. We've got the incredible Mina Italiana, who's based in Melbourne. Her sister-in-law owns Maria's Kitchen. I don't know whether you know Maria's Kitchen, and if I remember. So Mina has gone from now being in the administrative space, which she's still doing, navigating family, and she goes down and volunteers at her sister-in-law's kitchen, and she's feeding people. So, like, it's just not about that I'm an EA to such and such, or I'm a PA. It's about what contribution you have been making to the profession and also to the community. So very excited.
I love that. I love that so much. And I'm so excited for you. And you can see that passion coming out of you. And I was super excited when I was like, it's yours. This is even more things we can talk about, because I'm so excited. I'm really excited for you, but I'm also really excited for every admin person out there to get some recognition, because they are working their bloody asses off, right? Non-stop. It's a non-stop thing, and sometimes it is a thankless role. So I think, obviously we'll put all the links down, but I wanted to ask, what is the cutoff date where people can nominate someone for these awards?
Yep, 17th of November. So the process of...
Great.
You can nominate or self-nominate. Cut off the 17th of November. We've got an incredible advisory panel that will then go through all the nominations, and they will narrow it down to 3 finalists in the 9 categories. From that, 8 of the categories will go to a live judging panel in the first 2 weeks in December, where you'll be interviewed live via Zoom by the judges. Except for the People's Champion, it'll be open to public vote for the first 2 weeks in December. And then once we've done that, in January 18th, all finalists will come to the event. So if you're outside of Sydney, we will fly and accommodate you in. And we're going to have a beautiful black tie gala event here at the grounds of Alexandria in Sydney. So we all get to dress up in our ball gowns. It is going to be an incredible celebration for us all. So the process isn't hard. It's just making sure that everyone gets in on those key dates. So I'll share all that with you as well, so you can share with your community as well. So nominate today. If you don't, you can self-nominate, as I said. If you do self-nominate, we will have to validate and get a bit of a reference check just to make sure you've achieved what you said. But I would encourage. I really want to see the nominations coming in, and I will say that 85% of the nominations that are coming have been people that have nominated other people. So for me, that is joy. That's just joyous. And let's find light and joy and celebration at the end of a crappy 18 months.
Absolutely. And please, everybody, get out there and nominate someone, because, as I said, I was so excited when I saw it. Had no idea that it was Michelle's baby, but now that I know, I'm even more excited. I personally have already nominated someone who works for WB40, and it's so well deserved as well. But yeah, I think everybody, please go and nominate. And I loved the titles, like I really loved the categories, as you say, because they're so different. And it was really interesting reading all of the categories, because everybody's like, you've got to be a master wearing many hats these days. It's not just, put on one hat, right?
You do it. And I think it's a celebration piece. Like, we've got a category that is for PAs and also individuals that are supporting high net worth individuals, because we've got, it could be anyone from CEO magazine leader to the top, a Jerry Harvey or someone like that. They don't have a title as an EA anymore, but they are still supporting on a personal and also a business perspective, them as individuals, and they've had to get through a tough period. So look, I thank you, Sandy, for, letting me share this with your community, because it is an exciting time, but I think it also proves to us as human beings that we need to continually dream big. And anything is possible if we just do it. And for me to launch the business within 4 weeks, build a website, get sponsors on board, go to the media, it's not an easy thing to do.
That is no easy feat. And it's incredible. And I just love what you've done so quickly. And no one would ever believe that you pulled that together so quickly, because the website's beautiful. The information is all there. We will obviously share all of that, but it's so, you're just incredible. I feel you're such a champion.
Thank you.
But for me to obviously this is open to all admin people who can be nominated or nominate themselves. But as we know, the majority of people in admin roles are those humans that identify as female. And, there's a huge kind of percentage of people in the arena for that. So for our platform as well, who wants to support women, I love that you are an absolute champion and a force of nature helping other women to rise as well. I love it.
Thank you so much. And I will also say, just a couple of things. 94% of the administrative community in Australia are females. I would like to see more men, but unfortunately that is not the case. So there's 94% of the community sitting out there. It is also for virtual assistants. So remember, this is not a title based. It's a function based on what you're actually functionally doing within your role. So if you're a virtual assistant out there who have supported great organisations, go and nominate yourself or get someone to nominate for you. So it's really easy to do.
So important. And actually in the She Endeavours section of our magazine, we recently highlighted some amazing women, yourself included, but actually highlighted there was, I think, 2 virtual assistants or virtual assistant organisations. And I think that is so important for us not to forget about VAs, because they do such an incredible amount of work and they do such a great job. And, their worth has really, been completely recognised now, given COVID and many people having to work from home. It's fantastic. So well done for remembering them.
Well, I think this is the thing, is a lot of small business owners have taken on a VA to do the support functions and the admin functions in their business that they can't do. So it's really important that they do get recognised, because they've been the glue. They've created the magic in the background when you've had no idea what they're doing, and they've just done it. So for your assistant, she's using Hootsuite and you've probably got no idea how it actually works, but she's making that magic happen, and that Instagram post is appearing, or that newsletter's going out, or that info pack's going out to someone. So as I said, I want to encourage anyone that is in an administrative function to get on board with these awards. It is incredible. The sponsors, the prize packs, it is just amazing. And who doesn't want to come to Sydney in January and get in a ball gown and frock up? So,
well, I'm not nominated, obviously, but I would love to be there. I'd love to come along. Who wouldn't? The other thing I want to say to you is congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
You started, Door 20A really not that long ago. So it's a fairly new business still, but you've actually been a finalist in many awards. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yes, and I can see your little statue on the back from the Raw Awards. Is that from this year?
That was last year.
That
was last year. So I was the gold winner of the Wildcat of the Year award last year.
We were in the same category. We were both finalists. There you go.
There you go.
Western Sydney Women, which is one run by the incredible Amanda Rose. I was a finalist in that, in the Mompreneur, in the Raw Awards, which I think this is those community platforms, but also what they're recognising is just truly incredible. And this year I'm a finalist in the Raw Awards, again, in the Women Making a Difference category.
Yay.
So we've got that.
That's fantastic.
This Saturday night, I think it is. Yes. Yeah.
Yes, it certainly is. Yeah.
So,
we're lucky enough to be a finalist in 2 awards as well. And so hopefully we'll be celebrating together, Michelle.
And I think this is a recognition for anyone out there that if someone does nominate you in an awards category or platform, that you need to really celebrate that, embrace it, because you have made an impact for a special reason. So the people that had nominated me last year and then also again this year, like they didn't tell me to start off with. So I'm like, you get the random email from D at Raw Awards, you've been nominated. I'm going, who nominated me and why did I nominate? What? But we need to congratulate ourselves because we've done something, we've achieved something. And, wins don't need to be big. They can also be small. So we need to celebrate those small wins as well as the big wins. But the small wins, I think, make a lot of difference. And these awards platforms across Australia, whether, someone could nominate you for Telstra Businesswomen, embrace it, take it on board because you have made an impact as well as made a difference in someone's life, if not a lot of people's lives. So I think, it is fantastic. I mean, the Mompreneur, like Peace and Katie, what they do, oh my gosh, that platform's just...
incredible, yeah.
Incredible. And there's so many great platforms out there. So if there's one, it might be if someone in your local community, in the, the local community business awards, if there's something that someone has done for you, whether it be your lawn mowing man or your local neighborhood watch person, and you really valued it, nominate them. Like, we've got to celebrate people more in life. We have to cheerlead people on and we've got to celebrate people more. So I really encourage you that, if it's not the Australian Admin Awards, that it is another platform that you do because it brings so much joy into people's lives.
Oh, look, I agree. And actually last week I actually nominated 2 different people in 2 very different awards because I just really feel that they're deserving. But as you say, to have someone nominate you and recognise you for your strengths and what you're doing and your work or whatever you may be, it might be in the community, it could be whatever, is so powerful. And I know for me last year when we were nominated for the Raw, such a shock and quite incredible. And, we're a fairly new business as well. We're only 2 years old as well. And so for that to happen, but I met so many amazing people through that process as well, and being a finalist in Oz Mum this year, and we've been nominated for the accolades this year, and Raw obviously. So there's a lot. Thank you. There's a lot going on, but I think for small business people as well, that I didn't realise what an impact that would have on my business. It is really important. If you're not, nominate yourself for things if you can, as well, because I think that's really important. Back yourself and get your business out there. It really can make a huge impact on your business to be able to talk about it, to be able to showcase that, to show people this is why we're a finalist or this is why we were nominated. And as you say, you don't need to be a winner in all of the awards, but just to be recognised is such a big deal, and you'll meet so many amazing people.
And I think that's a key thing as well, is it the people that you connect with, again, in another community or a different environment, is just incredible. And also the doors that open for you, like the random emails from business owners that I received post last year. And I think it was like, oh my gosh, she's a real person. She's just not someone on Instagram turning up, she's a real person. I want to get her into my business. So it is another avenue that you're backing yourself, you're staying in your lane, you're being who you are, and, embrace the celebration, because it's funny. I don't know why, but we don't like to, put ourselves up on a pedestal or cheer ourselves on where we should be. So this is, any awards platform that is out there is a great recognition, one of who you are, but also what is happening also in that industry. So I think that's, and I feel like in the making a difference in the Raw for this year, like, oh my gosh, I don't know whether you've seen the finalists, but I got imposter syndrome when I saw it. I went, I didn't know to be in this category as a finalist. But then I speak to the person that nominated me and they say, you do. So I don't know. We are.
Right? Like we're I think we're finalists in the Rebel Business of the Year. That one nearly blew me away. Yeah, and I feel like, yeah, I was again imposter syndrome, because I think this is what a lot of women face as well, when you see the other women in that category so deserving, so extraordinary, and think, wow, how the hell am I there? And so I'm just really grateful to be in amongst those categories with so many amazing people like that in itself, we've won, right?
Yes. I think I feel we're a winner well, I felt like I was a winner when that nomination landed in my inbox. And I didn't care about what I had to tell or enter. Or it was like, oh my gosh, someone's nominated me. I must have done something right. So
Agreed, right?
yeah.
I remember reading that email that you've been nominated, and then you've been nominated again, and I'm like, what? And I just, you're right. I just walked around like I was on cloud nine all day. Yay!
But it also, I think it's a reflection period as well, because doing the business journey, it's hard. The hustle is real, and you're having your good days and your bad days. Your bank account balance one day is good, the next day it's great. Like it's a journey, and we're both 2 years in, and have we got it right? No way in hell. We're still going to learn and grow. But the thing is, it's about what we do along the way, and I think it's being open to change and shift, growth, and that's what an award does. It's that growth part of your business, and it's like, okay, so being nominated, how did I get to that? What do I need to do different, or do I need to change anything? And it's a reflection piece as well, because we do need to reflect as business owners, and it's like, okay, so I did really bad at that, but I kept going, so I must have done something right. So it's
right.
Yes.
Right. And it's so true. And I think through the process of, some people may not know this, but after someone nominates you for an award, often you then get sent a whole lot of questions by the judging panel to talk about your business and where it comes from, what does it mean, who's your audience, all the things. So even to sit down and do that is such an extraordinary exercise, as well, as you say, to check in with yourself and your business, and you actually can see how far you've come.
Yeah. But also writing about yourself, I don't think it's natural to, I don't know, some people like talking about themselves, and for me it's harder, they ask you a question and you got to write about yourself, and it's like, oh. And then, but I did get help with I know one of my nominations, because it was hard for me to talk about myself, but it's also hard, as I said, I suck at English, so I had to get someone to string some good words to me, and I can talk about it this way, but to put it on a piece of paper I just struggle with. So I have got a good voice recorder app, by the way, that I often use, so that has helped me out a bit. But
that's important too, right? And that's the thing about embracing our strengths and our weaknesses, right? And finding help and putting your hand up and asking for help when you need it, like we all do. I constantly do. I mean, and that's the thing about these sort of awards and about being a person in small business is, never be afraid to put your hand up, never be afraid to join other groups, never be afraid to ask for advice and help. Because that's something I have struggled with, the asking for the help piece. But in doing so, extraordinary things start to happen.
Yeah, but I think also, like with the community piece as well, is that it's okay that if you get to a point, if you're in a different stage of your life and that community isn't servicing you, it's okay to walk away. You're not cutting them off or anything like that. But I think we will go through stages. Like, for me, in 2020, the Facebook closed communities that I was part of was incredible. Like, it got me through, it inspired me, it cheered me on. But then this year, I've decided to go off Facebook. So I don't have that community platform, and I'm okay. I walked away from it, feeling okay about it. Will I reconnect? I probably will. But it's when I'm in that next phase or the next space. And I think that's like anything,
Yep.
You might need to go to a confidence building community, or you might even go to a knitting community, and then you stop knitting. But, you said earlier, it's community over competition. And I think, you know, we're only on this life for one short time, so let's enjoy it. Let's have the right cheerleaders around us. Let's have fun while we're doing it, and, you know, make the most of the time that we're here, that we can have so much joy in our lives. And I think that's what if you aren't connected to a lot of communities, for your listeners, I'd encourage you. I mean, I can help you with some, Sandy can help. There's so many great, isn't it? We know so many of them, and they're just fantastic.
Oh, so many, you know, and it's different for whatever it is that you're looking for. But I do think that you know, it does make you realize how less alone you are.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there, a lot of really great, amazing people.
Yeah.
And there's basically a group, I would imagine, for almost anything you could imagine, as you said. So if you want to join a dog group or a knitting group or a business group or whatever, yeah, I look, you know, and you know, obviously I have a podcast. There are so many podcasting groups out there, some just for women, some for guys, some for everyone. And it's been amazing, even to reach out to those people, some whom are overseas, who have a very different perspective on podcasting, say, than I would. It's so great. It's just brilliant to bounce your ideas off other people and to feel like, oh, there's someone out there who really gets what I'm on about.
And I think so I'm not a reader. I would love to read books, but I don't know. I just can't. So I do read or listen to Audible books, but for me, podcasts are huge. So every Sunday night, I rack up my podcast, and I get my list together for the week. So between 10 and 15 podcasts I listen to a week. So I always have, most of them are 30 minutes and under, and then 4 of them will be the bigger ones that I'll listen. So when I go on a bigger walk, or I'm laying in bed, or wherever it is, and it's just a different way, one, to learn, but two, to connect as well. And I think you have to have a variety of inspirational versus corporate versus personal. Like, you've got to have a good mix. And it's another way to connect and learn. So congratulations for having a great podcast platform and creating this community.
Thank you.
Because it's different to your magazine. You've got your magazine and your podcast, but you're connecting with two different groups of community.
Yeah. You're right, and it is very different, and you know, but it's really lovely. And as you say, not everybody wants to read, you know, is a reader, but they connect through the podcast. But this also, the podcast, you know, as you would know, allows us to connect with some really extraordinary women. Some of whom are telling their journey of their business, but some of whom are telling the journey of their personal lives. And it's, so you get this kind of really lovely mix of women and stories and backgrounds and identities. And we love that. We're really passionate about it. I just think, yeah, that's my joy. This place is my happy place.
It's where the magic. I think also as humans, like, we need to share more about our experiences in our life, because when we share, we learn. And when we learn, we grow. And I think in the past, I don't think we were great sharers. I don't know about you, but we didn't share. Like, you know, we used to go to a networking event and you used to get a free glass of wine and maybe a nibble or whatever. And it was like, hi, how are you? Here's your business card. And that was about it. Whereas now we've seen...
Here's your business card, yeah.
Whereas now we've seen, when we do go to a networking event, we're sharing our expertise, our experience, and our journey we've been on. So then we're learning, we're growing, and all these kind of things. So it's a very different process that we've gone through. And social media has made that impact different. As well, I will say to people on social media, if you are not sending voice messages, if you're just sending text messages, try a voice message, because I think I sent a few to you. It changes the narrative in the conversation to hear someone's voice instead of just deciphering what they've written in a text message. And all platforms...
And I will say that I've got to get better at doing that, because I love when I get your messages, because you do send like a little voice message and I can play it and hear you and, hi Sandy, and it's real. but it's a real, right? It's a really, you're right, 100%. It, you know, getting your messages makes my day, because and I have to get better at doing that and kind of going, oh, you know, hello, I'm here. But I think you're right, and I do think times they are changing. I think social media, you know, yes, as we said before, has some downfalls, but it also has some great things that it has achieved, and one of which is allowing people to share their stories in ways that they probably never would have.
Yeah.
And for us to be honest and raw and authentic, most importantly.
Yeah.
You know, that we see people, we get on, like today I wore makeup, for the podcast. But honestly say a lot of the time I do not. And I know in TikTok and Reels or whatever that quite often I'll say, oh, I've just got to jump on and do something. No makeup, whatever, and I think years ago I never would have even considered that. It would never have been a possibility. And so I do think we are, social media has very gently encouraged us all to share more of ourselves and our journeys.
And it's sharing in the right way. And I think, like on LinkedIn, I send a lot of voice messages. Didn't know whether you knew, but on LinkedIn you can send a voice message as well. So I do that quite often, especially when I want to meet someone for a virtual coffee that may have a big title and work for a big corporation, and they've got a beautiful still photo and they look absolutely incredible. And that imposter syndrome kicks in. And I just go, Mish, they're just a human being with a story. Send them a voice message. And, so many times people come back to me and go, I didn't even know this existed. And thanks for your message. And then
I didn't know either.
Just all platforms. Well, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, they've all got it. So you can send it. It's just, and I think also if you want to ask a simple, silly question, that's sometimes a quicker, easier way.
That's the way to go.
Yeah.
Well, watch out everybody now, because Michelle's taught me how to do that. So now you'll be getting my little voice messages.
Yeah.
But you're right. I think it's lovely, and it is definitely more personal. And as I said, thanks to you, I beforehand wouldn't have thought to do that. I think it's a great idea.
And I find it bizarre when no one you can see that they've seen it, but they never respond to you, and you just go, oh. So you didn't like my voice? Or is my request that bad? And I just go, well, it's like one of those things that's meant to be, meant to be.
Well, maybe they're worried. They're like, oh, do I have to send a voice thing back? I don't know. I'm not going to do that. I don't know how to do it. Like, honestly, I'll be upfront and tell everyone that Michelle sent me these beautiful messages, and then I texted back. I was like, wow, I love this, but wow, I didn't know I could even do it.
I'll do an IGT.
So now I know.
Yeah, it's just, look.
Now I know I've got to get better at it. But this is why you are the tech queen and I am not.
I'm learning. If I can share one thing a day with one person, I feel like I've succeeded. And it doesn't need to be big. It can be just something small. Like I saw today when I went to the hairdressers, is that, there was an old lady, she was standing there fumbling with her phone. And, I said to her, do you want help? And she said, oh, my grandson put a passcode on my phone. I don't want to have it. And I said, you don't need to have it. He goes, but he told me I need to have it. And all she wanted to do, you could see, when you see someone that's got that fear of technology, she's there, she's scrambling, she's fluffing, and then she drops her handbag. I don't want people to be fearful of technology. I want you to embrace it. And if something simple of removing that elderly lady's passcode, which I did, and I said, here's my number, tell your grandson to give me a call if he thinks I've done the wrong, because I didn't want to step on his toes.
Of course, yeah.
But what it did, it made her feel like, you could feel that sigh of relief, the shoulders drop, the confidence inhales in her body, and she just felt so much more relieved. And it's just not about the elderly, it's anyone with any type of technology or platform. Let's remove the fear and let's find the solution for you that you feel comfortable with it.
And I love that you are out in the world actually helping people to do that, finding solutions. I think you're brilliant. I'm so glad that we connected thanks to tech. And congratulations on launching the Australian Admin Awards. I think this is just so amazing. We will put up in our show notes and across all of our social media all the links to that. I strongly encourage everyone to nominate a fantastic admin person in their life, or nominate yourself, back yourself. Nothing wrong with that. No. And I will put up all the links to Michelle as well, so you can find her website, her platform, and absolutely join her on LinkedIn. Reach out to her if you've got tech issues, problems, and you want solutions, because as I said, she's now being called the tech queen in my mind.
Thank you for having me, Sandy. And I'd just like to say to everyone, and also yourself, remember always there is only one incredible you in this world. So be you, do you, amaze you.
Wonderful to have you on, Michelle. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Good Girl Confessional podcast. The Good Girl Confessional podcast is brought to you by WB40, Women Beyond 40 magazine. Available now at WB40.com. The Good Girl Confessional podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you listen to quality podcasts. We're also now available on YouTube. We chat with really interesting women about their hard-won wisdom, but it really helps us if you can subscribe, like, and share the podcast. Thanks so much for your support. Bye for now.